Hey everyone, welcome back to our study of the Epistle of 1 Peter on exhortation. And this is getting close to the end of this larger pericope of 1 Peter 2:11 through 3:12, exhortations based on social groups. And this is an overview of what we've gone through and what we will continue with. We are on 5, the fifth dot there, the relationship to wives. So we've gone through the condition and behavior, relationship to government, masters, non-Christian husbands, and then we'll look at the relationship to Christian family of God, and then we'll continue on to the next larger pericope. So this is part 10, relationship to wives, 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 7. And it's only one verse, so I'm going to go ahead and read it. Husbands, in the same way, be considerate as you live with your wives, and treat them with respect as the weaker partner and as heirs with you of the gracious gift of life, so that nothing will hinder your prayers. All right, and just like the previous episode or part, we have yet another special guest. Well, the same special guest, but we're lacking an infant and a dog. So yeah, the dog didn't come up. But we're going to go through the same thing, except the roles are going to be reversed. She is going to interview me. And this might be payback. We're going to see what happens. All right, so let's start it off, and then we'll get into the questions as we go along, okay? In the same way, or the King James Version has likewise. This is a word in Greek that focuses on equality. As the wife sacrifices accordingly, the husband also sacrifices accordingly. And if we recall the example in 3:1 and all the previous examples, the same calling, the same conduct of the believer is to do exactly that, to have a sacrificial servant mentality towards other people, especially for those who do not believe. As 2:11 and 12 says, live among the pagans in such a way that they'll see your behavior and start to believe. Be considerate as you live with, literally of living with one wife knowledgeably. The relationship between husband and wife is one that is always needing learning. No one stays the same forever. And that is very, very true. Nobody's the same. I mean, I'm not the same person I was yesterday. Are you? Oh yeah, you're interviewing me. All right, there is an art to asking the right question and at the right time. There is also a skill in answering those questions. And I think this is where your first question comes in.
Kind of a first and second question.
First and second. All right, well, let's do one at a time because we don't want to overwhelm me.
Yes, we do. What is the most frustrating thing about being a male?
You stole my question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a little bit. And yours was very mean. I'm just kidding. I just verified your answer with saying that. All right, so the most frustrating thing about being a male is not being able to find things because people move them. I'm just kidding. I think the most frustrating thing about being a guy is not being able to fully understand his woman. Because it takes work. And sometimes it's just like, I'd rather you just can you just put it black on white and make it really simple and understandable and also I know you can. And also, usually guys have this mentality that they want to be that hero. They want to be that person that is just spectacular. They want to be the person that is, even if we're already number one in that girl's life, we always want to go above and beyond that. So when we're not able to do certain things, that's the thing that gets frustrating. And it's like, they go hand in hand. If we just understood what to do and be able to do that, then it'd be great. But sometimes it's not like that. We want to fix things when we can't, or shouldn't, I should say. And yeah, I think that's the frustrating thing. Peter really iterates how a man should be towards his wife, and that is have a mindset that is willing to be learnable, I guess is the word I'm looking for, if that's even a word.
Teachable.
Yeah, be able to be taught. Learn your wife, because as I said here, no one stays the same forever, and as long as you are in the know, the better it is. If you are complete, no, that's not to say like, well, we can't understand everything. Doesn't mean don't try. I mean, you really need to try. You should try. Am I trying?
Yeah, every day.
Every day, I go through the crucible.
Okay.
So yeah, does that answer well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, I'm confusing.
But yeah, no, not just you. All women. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So maybe we might have to edit some of this, but we'll see. All right, let's keep going. We had to go get the baby because she woke up from her nap, so Danielle's holding her. So to continue, next slide. Respect. The King James Version says honor. Value, for example, money paid, valuables, esteem of the highest degree, and dignity itself. Think of purchasing something for its exact value. For example, if you're out getting something, buying something, and you purchase it, you get it for that exact amount of money, you get that product for exactly what it's worth then. Sometimes things are cheaper and you put the money into it and it's like, yeah, the quality wasn't as good. Or you put too much money in and it's like, you're out the money. And I wish there was a better example that I can come up with, but the same thing, whatever you invest in the relationship needs to be the exact amount that you are, the exact amount that you're putting in is something that you're getting back. Now, it's not to say like, I'm in a relationship to get something out of it. It's nothing like that, because this putting into this investment in the relationship goes on both sides. So they should be complementing each other. So putting into it, that's exactly what you're going to pay for, nothing less and nothing more. Weaker or feeble. This has nothing to do with rank, which is flawed in its own thinking. I can do something you can't, so you are lesser than me. Like, what? That doesn't work at all. The idea that just because I could do something better than somebody else makes me better overall is just a really flawed way of thinking. For example, it's like, I play disc golf. I can throw a disc like 400 to 500 feet long, and that's amazing. And I tell that to a doctor who's like in the middle of doing brain surgery on me, like, who cares? Like, what does it matter? Sometimes people will be able to do things better than you, and sometimes you will be able to do certain things better than them. When it comes to the relationship, those things that we are better at should complement the other person, not overpower them and not like hang over their head. And going into thinking of compatibility, in order for electronics to work, it needs the appropriate power source. For example, compatible batteries. The two function together, though they are completely different and have different functions. So you get a toy or something and it says it needs 4 AA's to work, and you go out and you buy D-size batteries, and it's like more power, but they're not compatible. It's not going to work. But when you get the right batteries and you put those in, then the device is going to work flawlessly, hopefully, if it's programmed right. So when it comes to compatibility, we need to get out of that sense where things are compatible because I only like this about you. Where really compatibility is, you need to find somebody or be with somebody that the things that they're really good at, they make up for because you're not as good at it with. And that's what compatibility is. The batteries function exactly how they're supposed to function, and the device functions exactly how that is supposed to function. The two coming together are the only way that can be that can happen. because the batteries are not in it. It's not going to work. The batteries are not going to do what they're supposed to do. Rather, it is a recognition of who is placed where for a better task. Feebleness goes all ways. We looked at 1 Corinthians 12 a while back, and that's all about, if the eye says to the hand, like, you're no good, like, then the same thing goes with the relationship. If the husband is saying to the wife that, I do better with this than you, so you're not good enough, or the other way around, the wife says, I can do this better, so that kind of relationship is toxic. It's not functionable. All right, so this coming to terms with feebleness, it all comes down to we need to rely on each other to make up for what we're not perfectly capable of doing. That's not to say don't try, but if we can humble ourselves in prayer to God and say, I do need this, I do need help, whatever it is, what father would give their kid a stone when they ask for bread? It doesn't make sense. And in the same way, when it comes to a relationship between a husband and wife, what are we investing in that relationship? Are we, if the wife is saying, I really need this from you right now, and it's like she's asking for bread, are you going to give a stone? And vice versa. It doesn't make sense to not respond in a sacrificial way of love when it comes down to that. Is this where the second question is? Sure. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. It's going to be more of a almost counseling discussion. Okay. Do you find that it's easier for us to notice what has changed in ourselves, or easier to notice what changed in the other person?
I guess it really depends. If it's pointed out, then I'll realize it a lot quicker in myself. Whereas I feel like I've known you so long, I kind of know the ebb and flow of how we deal with certain things,
or don't
deal with certain things. But I don't think it's a question of which one is easier. I think it's all circumstantial, where if it's pointed out, really, I think that's when it becomes easier, I guess. Because sometimes we don't notice. It's not even. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is there more to that question?
No, I'm just thinking, if it was pointed out, what do you think the typical response is?
Oh, naturally, it's like, nuh-uh.
So how do you get past that?
How do we get? Well, going back to to humility. Like, it's okay to mess up. We're gonna mess up, and I think when it comes to a relationship, if you're not willing to confess and forgive, then that's when things grow in more toxicity than in love.
And then, what do you think are some practical ways that we can either relearn or know another one deeper in the context of we never stay the same?
Talk. And more so listen. I think God gave us one mouth, one tongue, and 2 ears for a reason, because we need to listen a lot more. Listen closely. I love Tim Hawkins saying, "Learn her drink." Look that up on YouTube. It's hilarious. But that's what it comes down to. Listen and catch on to those little hints of. Like for myself, I'll bring something up like a week ahead before I want to buy something, like
a week ahead?
Okay, like months ahead. But anyway, sometimes it takes that long. But listen in for those subtle hints, because sometimes even for guys, we're not straightforward, and we like to beat around the bush because, let's be honest, everybody loves to be treated special. And part of being treated special is something like, it's not really special if we just flat out say, get me flowers. Go get me a grill, which we did. Because yesterday it was a gorgeous day. Today it's like raining. I'm wearing a hat because I'm so cold. But anyway, if we say flat out, go do this, go get this, or anything, it doesn't become special anymore. It's more of a demand. And taking that into our relationship with Christ, when God is like, oh my gosh, do this, and that's your expression of love. That I don't see that as biblical love towards God. It should be a desire of, hey, God is whispering these gentle things to us. He's guiding us by his Spirit, not forcing us into doing anything. And when we go into doing something to express our love towards God, to express our love towards our spouse, without being told, that is something that is special. It is very special. Yeah. Did I answer the question? I think we got out.
No.
Yeah.
This is where the 5 love languages would come in handy. They have it. I suggest you go online and take the quiz. They have it for singles, they have it for married people, they have it for kids. Because really it's good to get to know the spouse, and in other cases just getting to know people. This really can apply to all relationships. And to get to know yourself, because I take it yearly at least.
we take it often. And what's that other one? I have it somewhere. Keep talking.
Yeah. It's really good because as one tank, I think that's how he refers to it, gets filled in one area, that might change the next year because you've been so filled with that thing that all of a sudden this other thing is lacking, and that's what you realize. I was never really a gift person.
Sorry.
I think I always scored a 0 in gifts.
They've changed multiple times throughout the year.
It's still not a high score, but I've noticed how that is something that will make me feel special when it's a gift that's given out of somebody thinking about me, not because I told them to go and do something for me.
Yeah. For myself, I think one of my highest ones is words of affirmation, right?
And sometimes you'll find that the person that is supposed to do those things, that doesn't come naturally. I'm better at writing notes. Yeah. I could leave him a note every day telling him something, but to verbalize it doesn't come naturally to me. And it's not because I don't think it, I'm just not good with saying it.
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel awkward.
Another thing that we've always done is Wired That Way. And these are very cheap. I think if they're still on Amazon, they were only like $1 each or something like that. I can't remember exactly how much. But these go through a lot of different questions, strengths and weaknesses about yourself. And if you're brutally honest, it's so much better because it goes through the explanation of if you're popular sanguine or powerful caloric, peaceful phlegmatic, or a perfect melancholy, all those characteristics of your personality are so much more understandable. There are certain things that when you do that test, personality test, you're like, wow, I never really thought of myself in those terms. And you understand yourself a little better as well. Yeah. Anything else?
Nope, other than when we took that. Just fun fact. Shout out to Pastor Dave. He told me I scored equal in the 2 things that never go together.
Yeah.
I don't know if that means I'm bipolar. I'm not sure.
I think he said I would, if there was a building on fire, I would be the one running into it to do whatever help I can, while you would
be listening
to sad music about it.
Pretty true.
We complement each other so well. All right, so the next slide, partner or vessel. Partner is a word that Greeks use for body because they believed the soul resided in the body for a period of time. Partner is also used to describe useful armament, household utensils, and fishing gear such as rope and sail. What Peter is communicating is a patriarchal relationship between husband and wife. The husband as the head with the aid of the wife, not a hierarchy where the king of the mountain rules with what will he has. And I think that's been one of those things through every generation, that when it comes to a patriarchal relationship, it's very anti-women. And I think if you do your research better, you'll understand that it has nothing to do with the husband lording over the wife. It is a complement of how each function, whereas the husband would be the patriarch, while the wife is basically the one that runs things, I guess you could say.
She takes care of the home.
Yeah, she takes care of the home, and the home is not, and this is another thing that's often confused. The home doesn't mean, wash the dishes and cook and clean and all that. It's nothing like that. It is usually the home had a function or a trade or a business of some sort where the wife would be in charge of that, not only raising the kids, but actually even train up the kids to be a part of that, of those functions for the society. All right, so the home was nothing, it had barely much to do with family functions, but it also had a great deal within that family functioning, had a huge impact on society and how that would impact the society, and especially the economics of it.
It was not the woman's lesser because she can't work. It was she's doing majorly important things.
Right. So partner, vessel, we're continuing with that. As heirs of life, sets in stone what Peter is getting at. In Galatians, Paul writes, "There is neither Jew nor Gentile, neither slave nor free, nor is there male and female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus." Mark 10, Jesus says, "Why do you call me good?" When somebody said, "Good teacher," he's like, "Well, hang on. Why do you call me good?" Which is implying a couple things. First of all, that, if only God is good and he's calling Jesus good, what's he actually calling Jesus? And also the goodness of people is only possible through the goodness of God. Matthew chapter 20, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you." All right, now just because lording over people happens doesn't mean that it's okay. Just because people do it doesn't mean that it was taught that way in Scripture. It is not taught as that. Peter says straight out, you're both heirs, you are co-heirs, you are together, that are going to, what's the word I'm looking for? If you're heirs and you get something from...
Inheritance?
Inheritance, thank you, my love. You are both going to be a part of that inheritance together, not separate, together, so that nothing will hinder your prayers. This is a huge one for me. Hinder is used to show something that is cut off, such as a branch on a tree. Is this a hint to Jesus' teaching parable on the unmerciful servant in Matthew 18? If so, does or non-repentance hinder our prayers? Now, there's no possible way to downplay this verse at all. I've heard it taught that, like, okay, well, if you treat your wife wrong, it's only going to hinder your prayers for a little while or anything like that. And really, I don't see any way around it, because it's black on white. It is so incredibly clear. And I'll read it straight from the Bible, okay? "Husbands, in the same way, be considerate as you live with your wives, and treat them with respect as the weaker partner and as heirs with you of the gracious gift of life, so that nothing will hinder your prayers." What that hindrance is anything and everything that detracts our conduct away from righteous living. So if we go into this way of living where it's like, I will just treat my wife whatever way that we want, or my husband the whatever way that I want, or just treat people in general, and we go to God and ask for prayer and all this other stuff, Jesus says the outcome is completely different. If you don't forgive, you will not be forgiven. It's very simple. Your prayers are contingent on how you treat other people, and as your wife, or your husband as well, it goes with the relationship with Christ. Your relationship to your spouse is a reflection of your relationship with Christ. Is this where our next one is? After this slide? Yeah, I think it's after this slide. Some proverbs on a wife. I love going to Proverbs and comparing different things. Proverbs 12, 18, 19, and 31. A wife of noble character is her husband's crown, but a disgraceful wife is like decay in his bones. He who finds a wife finds what is good and receives favor from the Lord. Houses and wealth are inherited from parents, but a prudent wife is from the Lord. A wife of noble character, who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. And then we look at Proverbs for husbands, and they're, in comparison to the wives, they're slim pickings. There's not a lot. They either deal with a husband whose jealousy is aroused by his promiscuous wife, or they deal with who the husband is because of who the wife is. So when it comes to the Proverbs, it's, I don't want to say pro-women or anything, but it is a message to the men that this person is precious and they are so valuable. So you need to treat them with the respect that they deserve. All right, so that brings us to your last question. It's conversation. It's not even a question.
Love and respect. It was yes, it is a book that we read, but it is true. That's going back to the first or second slide of respect. And I think the author calls it, the crazy carousel or something like it. It's a cycle of when a woman doesn't feel loved, it's hard for her to respect, and it goes both ways. And I think that all of that plays into the continuing to get to know the other person, because we all go through different things, and I don't always understand how I feel or why I feel it, but I'm better at talking about it, and you're not. And I feel like that is pretty typical. Sometimes you have where, the man is vocal, but that's always helpful, because there's so many ups and downs, and you might need something different and not even realizing, because you're going on what you were going on before, not realizing that's not what that person needs right then. And so then it comes down to, I might not be respecting him because I'm not feeling, I don't even want to say I'm not feeling loved, but maybe not understood, and that maybe not feeling loved.
Yeah.
And then, he'll let me know this isn't cool. But I think that needs to also be done in a respectful way. Don't let things build up until they're an explosion of hurt feelings or anger or frustration.
Yeah. I think of the illustration of eating the same meal every single day,
which is what we were doing.
If you're going to love someone, and maybe it's the favorite meal, and they love it every single time it comes, but sometimes you need that variety. And when it comes to love and respect, sometimes, even for myself, I love the respect, but I love being loved too.
Which I think looks different. For...
Yeah, and it's obviously it's going to look different. And when it comes to getting tired of that same meal every time, there needs to be that variety. So, yeah, we always go out on dates. We always go to the same restaurant or whatever it is.
We never go out on dates.
For example, hypothetically speaking, if we keep doing the same exact things, then it's not going to be as relationally connecting, because there comes a point where, yeah, I know that about that person, or what have you. That's why it's so important in our relationship with Christ as well to, I'm a big stickler on stay in the New Testament, but venture into the Old Testament too. There are so many. I love the Old Testament, and I think there's a great wealth of information and about the hi Rilla about the character and attributes of God in the Old Testament. Come here.
Come say hi.
Here's one of our other daughters who had some chocolate recently.
Look,
say hi.
Hi.
Hi. All right. And we're just going to wrap up this last part here. Did we have anything else for love and respect?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. And here's a translation of 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 7. Christian husbands, because your wives serve you according to their abilities and who they are, you too should serve them like that, living with this one woman, knowledgeable of who she is constantly. Always give them honor where honor is due, building them up so to give more honor to them. They may be weaker in areas you are not, but she is still your helper, and heir with you to the gracious gift of life. Treat her as the most precious gift that is from God, because if not, you disrespect God. He gave you the gift of your wife. In turn, your prayers to him may be cut off like a tree branch, and every tree needs to yield its fruit. And here are the questions for reflection. God intends a certain design to the relationship between a husband and wife that includes the husband as the head. What does this look like? How have assumptions of this caused hurt, and in what areas? Peter gives an example using Sarah and Abraham of what this marriage structure looks like. What does Peter communicate concerning avoiding cultural trends? God does not call marriage to perfection, but does call to oneness. How does a husband and wife exercise their place in marriage as a part of the body of Christ? All right, and we'll see you guys next time. God bless.